Hi, I'm Linda, and this is Beautiful Thrift Homemaking. We're reading through a vintage cookbook from 1917, and this is also an instructional novel that's following the first year of marriage of a fictional character named Bettina, and she shares her recipes with us and a little bit of her life story. We're reading the final chapters for the month of September right now. We'll be doing 57, 58, and 59. Chapter 57, A Rainbow Announcement Luncheon. "Oh, Bettina, how lovely!" cried the 10 guests in a chorus as Ruth and Bettina ushered them into this softly lighted dining room. Not one had had even a glimpse of the luncheon table before, for Ruth had been entertaining them on the porch, while Bettina put on the finishing touches. It all seemed a burst of soft rainbow colors. "What is it?" cried someone. "How did you ever get the rainbow effect?" "Let's not examine it too closely," said Bettina. "You know, a rainbow after all is nothing but drops of water with the sun shining through, and maybe my rainbow table has a prosy explanation too." From the low mass of variegated garden flowers in the center, pink, yellow, lavender, orange, blue, and as many others as the girls could find, ran strips of soft tulle in rainbow colors. The strips were attached at the outer end to the dainty butterflies which perched lightly on the tulle-covered candy cups. These candy cups held pink, lavender, and green Jordan almond candies. More butterflies in all sizes and colors hovered among the flowers. Upon the plain white name cards, little butterflies had been outlined in black and decorated in butterfly colors. Ruth and Bettina had cut with the scissors around this outline, and then, when it had been cut almost away, had folded back the butterfly so that it stood up on the card, as ready for flight as its brothers and sisters. "Aren't they cunning?" exclaimed Barbara, taking her butterfly from her favor cup. "Goodness, it's attached to something." Pulling gently by the rainbow tulle to which the butterfly had been pasted, she drew forth from the greenery in the center a little golden bag. It was in reality a little fat bag of soft yellow silk tied with gold cord and holding something that, seen through the mesh, appeared to be gold. The other girls, in great excitement, drew forth their little bags. "Rice," declared Mary, "though it looks yellow." "It's the bag of gold at the foot of the rainbow," exclaimed Ruth, with flushed cheeks. "Discovered by—" "Harry, Harrison, and Alice," cried the girls, laughing almost hysterically. For one small card which read, "Discovered by," and the two names in gold letters was tied to the little bag by the gold cord. "Alice, how did you ever manage to keep it a secret?" asked someone. "Well, it would have been harder if you had all known Harry, but you see, we haven't been with the crowd much lately, have we? Now admit it. You haven't even missed me." "But you're more of a butterfly than any of the rest of us, and the limits of the old crowd don't always bound your flutterings." "I'm not a butterfly anymore," said Alice. "I suppose I'll have a butterfly wedding. Harry will detest it, but he'll have to give in that once. But after that, I expect to be as domestic as Bettina here, though not such a success at it, probably. Aren't these orange baskets the prettiest things?" The girls in their excitement had almost forgotten to eat, but now they looked down at their plates. Fruit cups in orange baskets, with handles of millinery wire twisted with pink, green, yellow, and violet tulle, added to the rainbow effect. The baskets were placed on paper doilies on tea plates and were artistically lined with mint leaves. "It looks too pretty to eat," said Dorothy. "Ruth will feel hurt if you don't like it, but I know you will," said Bettina. "She prepared this course and made most of the table decorations, too." "And didn't you wish that you were announcing something yourself, Ruth?" asked Mary. "Although I don't believe the crowd could stand for two such surprises. We've known Fred and you so long that your engagement seems the natural thing. But when a perfectly strange man like Mr. Harrison happens by and helps himself to one of our number, well, it certainly takes my breath away. Where did you first meet him, Alice? Was it love at first sight? Love at first sight? Bob introduced us here in this very house, and I thought Harry the most disagreeably serious man I'd ever had the misfortune to meet. And he thought me the most disagreeably frivolous girl he had ever seen. So our feud began, and of course we had to see each other to fight it out. And then comes Bettina's rainbow luncheon to show us how serious the feud proved to be, laughed Barbara. What, more courses, Bettina? This is a beautiful luncheon. I wonder who will be the next to discover the treasure at the foot of the rainbow. The menu consisted of fruit cups in orange baskets, cream of celery soup, whipped cream, and salt wafers, tuna molds, egg sauce, potatoes a la Bettina, green peppers stuffed with creamed cauliflower, rolls and butter, head lettuce with Russian dressing, thin sandwiches in fancy shapes, marshmallow cream, and coffee. And in this chapter, we have the recipes for the tuna loaf. Just for the tuna loaf. Now, chapter 58, an early color. Remember, we'll read the chapters before we discuss them and look over the recipes in detail. Chapter 58, an early caller. Bob had scarcely left the house the next morning when Bettina was called to the door. I couldn't resist coming, said Alice. The announcement party was lovely, and I must thank you for doing it. Aren't you tired to pieces? No, Ruth helped me a great deal, and by the time Bob came home to dinner, the luncheon dishes were washed and put away, and the house was in apple pie order. Everything tasted delicious, Bettina. Maybe it sounds altogether too practical for my own announcement party, but I'm armed with a pencil and a notebook, and I do want to get some of those recipes of yours. You're welcome to them all, Alice, of course. They are all recipes that I have used over and over again, and I'm sure of them. What kind of soup was it? Celery? I thought so. Wasn't it hard to prepare? Why, Alice, it was canned celery soup diluted with hot milk. Then I added a teaspoonful of chopped parsley and a teaspoonful of chopped red pepper. But surely it had whipped cream in it, Bettina? Yes, I put a teaspoonful of whipped cream in the bottom of the bouillon cup and poured the hot soup on it so that it would be well mixed. Well, that accounts for it. I thought it must be made with whipped cream. Oh, Bettina, everything is so pretty. Everything was so pretty. The tulle bows on the baskets holding the wafers and the rolls and the butterflies perched on them. How did you ever think of it? Well, butterflies are a happy choice for decorations. They can be put anywhere, and they are easy to make. At least Ruth says so. You use paper doilies a great deal, don't you? Aren't they expensive? Expensive? Well, I wish you'd price them. They are so inexpensive that I like to use them even for a very informal meal. They add such a dainty touch, I think. I must write down the recipes for your tuna loaf and green peppers stuffed with cauliflower and Russian dressing and, oh, that wonderful kind of rainbow dessert. Bettina, what was that dessert? Marshmallow cream, made with gelatin and cream and marshmallows and whites of eggs. I puzzled a long time over a real rainbow dessert and finally decided on marshmallow cream with a few variations. Come into the kitchen where I keep my card index, and I'll get all the recipes for you. And then Bettina's recipes here are for the potato balls, the green peppers stuffed with cauliflower, and the marshmallow cream. All right, and on to chapter 59, Ruth comes to luncheon. And here we are, busily planning Alice's affairs, said Bettina, when we might be talking of yours, Ruth. Are you sure that you don't want any parties or showers or affairs of any sort? Sure, said Ruth emphatically. I may be silly, Bettina, but to me, such a fuss beforehand takes something away from the beauty of the wedding. And then there are other reasons. We've had to postpone building till next summer and may not be married till the house is done. You know that. So we'll have been engaged a long time. It seems to me that after a long engagement like ours, it is better to have a simple wedding and no parties. Alice Alice's is happening just as I always expected that it would, a surprising announcement, a short engagement, and many parties, with an elaborate wedding as the climax. Sometimes I think that sort would be the kind to have. But you see, Bettina, when you're expecting to be married only once, you want to have just the kind that seems best to you. And yours will be just right for you, Ruth, said Bettina warmly. You are you, and Fred is Fred, and I can't imagine either of you caring for much excitement. And when you are in your new house, I'm going to have you over at least once a week to just such a dear little luncheon as this, or rather as much like it as I can devise. Bettina, how did you have time to cook such good things? Well, said Bettina, Bob will have these same things for dinner tonight, with the addition of some cold sliced meat. So now, Ruth, we have a long afternoon before us to sew and talk. Bettina's luncheon consisted of Bettina's Mexican salad, brown bread, apricot preserves, orange cake, and hot chocolate. And in this chapter, at the end here, we have Bettina's recipes for Bettina's Mexican salad, brown bread, and orange cake, and the orange filling for the cake. So join me in just a second, and we will discuss these 3 chapters to finish off the month of September. Okay, so now we're going to discuss chapters 57, 58, and 59 to end up our month of September. Since I'm going into October now, I really want to get these chapters discussed with you so we can move on to our current month, at least as when I'm filming this. So chapter 57, a rainbow announcement luncheon, 10 guests. The location for this party was the dining room at Bettina's house. The atmosphere, softly lighted, soft rainbow colors, a low centerpiece of flowers in all colors that could be found, soft tulle fabric in strips and in colors. There were candy cups with Jordan almonds in them, pink, lavender, and green. And I looked up Jordan almonds. How were they named that? Jordan, is the person's name, but it's also the name of a country. And I believe that it is because these originated in the Middle East. And they are very much a favorite still there, as they are a favorite for traditional wedding, like snacks, I guess you could call it. So that's the Jordan almonds. They have a candy coat over them. And they were in candy cups on the table. And there were name cards, place cards at the table for the 10 guests so they would know where to sit. The name cards had little cutout butterflies the wings were folded out of the card. That sounds really cute. There were golden bags of rice. Well, the rice looked gold through the gold mesh of the little bags. Then, but you're more of a butterfly than any of the rest of us, and the limits of the old crowd don't always bound your flutterings. That was a favorite passage that came from this chapter. So speaking of our bride-to-be as a socialite, yes. So butterflies were the particularly apt for her announcement party. Fruit cups in orange baskets. I wonder if those orange baskets were hollowed out navel oranges. Could have been. Fruit cups in orange baskets on paper doilies. And I do have some of these paper doilies in my kitchen. And so many come in a little bag. They're convenient to have for many different uses. I have a picture that I'll show you at the end of this video of last time or let's see, it was in chapter 55. We had the recipe for the lightning tea cakes, and I went ahead and made those. And I have to say, they were very plain and not a family favorite. But I do have some of the doilies in the photo with those. All right, so she had fruit cups in orange baskets on paper doilies lined with mint leaves. And then chapter 58, an early caller, Alice stops in the following morning to thank Bettina and get some recipes from the luncheon. The house was in apple pie order. What do you think of that? Apple pie order. An old term we don't use anymore. Butterflies are a happy choice for decorations, they just decided. In chapter 59, Ruth comes to luncheon. Lunch, dinner, and supper are funny terms, aren't they? The way they change depending on your region. Lunch is defined as a midday meal, typically light. Dinner is defined as a heavier meal, typically served in the evening or midday, or as a main meal. Supper is considered a lighter meal, typically served in the evening. So dinner is the most important meal, irrespective of the time that it's served, because it's going to be the heavier or the main meal. And Ruth, too, will be getting married soon, but she's had a long engagement and they're waiting till their house is built till they get married. Bettina is having her friend over for lunch, and a luncheon is the formal word for our shortened word lunch. And she'll serve some of the same foods for dinner that night to Bob. And they're sewing together on the maybe on the porch. They've done that before, but they're sewing together. Have you ever once had a friend over to sew? And do you do any sewing by hand? Do you do any mending? Have you seen the creative mending techniques recently being published? I think they're just fantastic, and I haven't given any of them a try myself. So I'm wondering, how about you? All right, so at the end of this message, I'm going to post a photo of the lightning tea cakes served on the doilies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.